coverage of the Mackinac Policy Conference here live from Mackinac Island. I'm Nick Austin, and with so many lawmakers in one place, so many speeches happening, so many people to talk to, it can be a lot to cover. That's why, since I can't be everywhere at once, we've got some of the people who are working to cover it right now to wrap things up and let you know what you need to know about this year's event. It's our Reporter Roundtable, and this year I am pleased to be joined by three of the best in the game, starting with Lauren Gibbons, Michigan State government reporter with Bridge, Michigan. Lauren, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Clara Hendrickson, politics reporter for the Detroit Free Press. Thank you, Clara.
It's great to be here.
Also, Russ McNamara, host of All Things Considered, airing weekdays at 4 right here at WDET, anchoring our coverage.
Going deep into the bench today, I see.
Hey, we got to do it sometimes. You're my number 3 hitter. That's a good spot to be in. But Lauren, we're going to start with you as our resident veteran of these events, plus someone I don't get to speak to live in face-to-face mode that often. What's your big takeaway from being up here for these 2 days at the conference?
You know, I think it's clear that just the number of people who are here, the power players who are here, it's an election year. There's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of excitement, and we're talking to a lot of business folks, a lot of politicos who are really keyed in to some of these issues. And overall, some of the issues that are being discussed are issues that a lot of people are talking about. You know, high-wage jobs, the economy, all of these things are going to be aspects of the 2024 election. I hear about inflation all the time, or you know, just whether the jobs that are coming in are high quality. What brings people to Michigan, and how can we boost our population? These themes have been coming up and up and up, and many of the past policy conferences continue to be important issues today.
It does seem like a continuing conversation there. There was celebration of the fact that Detroit had a rising population as well as Michigan, first time together since they were talking back in the 50s. But Clara, what was your big takeaway from this year's conference?
Well, I think the big takeaway is sort of going to be what comes off the island. There's this tradition in Michigan where business leaders and politicians gather on this car-free, fudge-filled island and roll out the latest and greatest policy idea, right? And last year we heard Mayor Mike Duggan announce a land value tax plan that he wanted to implement in Detroit that has completely stalled in the state legislature. And so some of the things that get announced here, you know, don't make their way off the island. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on what leaves the island. We heard Governor Whitmer announce an ambitious statewide goal of increasing housing to tackle a housing shortage in Michigan. What kind of progress on that front are we going to see with the deadline that she has set?
And housing so key. Everybody knows we don't have enough of it, especially affordable. We will have to pay attention to that. Russ, what is it for you?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is like, who isn't here? I mean, it is an election year. This place is not crawling with Republicans. Eric Nesbitt only got to the island today. Mike Rogers, who's running for Senate, he's not here. So is the event losing some of its shine, I guess, that they called off the senatorial debate? And I don't know, the things that are being announced here are pretty tame. We don't have a land value tax this year. We don't have a Growing Michigan Together Council being announced this year. If I hear about another corridor, I might lose my mind, because it's like, okay, we have an innovation corridor going in between Michigan Central Depot and Ann Arbor. Great. These are all theoretical things that business people like to talk about, and then does it happen? I mean, are we seeing growth in that matter?
Well, this is put on by the Detroit region, so there is the business focus.
I know. I'm biting the hand that feeds us, but come on.
No, but it's interesting that you mentioned the lack of Republicans, because it's clear that they want to have coverage from both sides, talking about bridging the future together. Some would say the most high-profile speaker was former Speaker Paul Ryan, but that was from a national level, not seeing it so much from the Michigan level.
He's been out of the business. Like, well, right. He's in, over to the dark side now in lobbyist territory and has his own projects. He's no longer an active or an interesting legislative component. Yeah. He might have provided some star power a decade ago.
Russ brings up a really good point about the Senate debate. That was what I was here for. That was what I was excited about. And, you know, that fell apart just a few days before the conference started. And that was something that I think a lot of people were really hoping to see, a bipartisan, you know, just a swan song from everybody, just seeing where everybody stands at this point ahead of a primary in what's going to be a really competitive election. And it was a little disappointing to see that fall through.
If the theme of this conference is bridging the future together, was there anything the three of you saw? I mean, we can start with you, Clara, that would key into that point, or did you think it was just kind of like a prevailing theme just to get us all up here?
Well, I think when my focus has been interviewing the politicians, and when I take stock of what's transpired in the state legislature coming up to now, not a ton of big bipartisan policy wins that lawmakers can really point to. A lot of sort of stagnation in the state house as they were tied with the same number of Democrats and the same number of Republicans, which could have in theory opened the door to some bipartisan legislating. We haven't totally seen that, and now this happens right when the budget is around the corner. So what are we going to see in terms of other policy goals get accomplished besides just funding government here in Michigan?
It is an election year. You wonder if that's maybe one of the reasons why people are a little bit more shy of being out there with some policy proposals, trying to get packed in, win some elections. Lauren, is there anything that happened here that you would deem newsworthy or something? We talk about the importance of getting up here. Anything newsworthy you found?
Yeah, I think, Clara brought up the housing initiative. I think that's kind of interesting. But where I continue to, I guess, struggle or think about, what happens now. We talked about the population council a little bit. That was announced last year. They released their reports, and it is things that technically Republicans and Democrats can agree on. We want better roads. We want better education opportunities. We want people to get paid better and have these job opportunities that people actually want. And that costs money, and that's very difficult. And so when you have these conversations, we're here a year since that population council has happened. There haven't been meaningful progress on that issue in particular. And I think those are some of the biggest issues here that people keep bringing up, that people want to work on. And the problem is that those things are really hard.
Now, Russ, you've been having interviews up here. What have you been noticing from your talks?
Well, I mean, we talk about the Growing Michigan Together Council, and I talked with Ned Stahler from Techtown yesterday, and Ned's like, I've been preaching this for 20 years. So he's like, we didn't really learn anything new, but maybe now there's the initiative to actually put some money behind it. I know transit is going to come up huge in the state budget this year, so that's interesting. Also, getting back to the political side a little bit, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan set to endorse council member Mary Waters for the 13th congressional seat today. I'm interested to see if that moves the needle at all, because they're going up against someone with a lot of money being brought in and self-funded in Sri Tanada.
Yeah, Adam Ollier knocked out of the running, of course, because he didn't have proper signatures, as we've learned. Clara, you've also been doing reporting up here. What do you think listeners need to know, take away here from your time on Mackinac?
I think Russ really got at the heart of the matter, where it's sort of this gathering every year talking about the same challenges that Michigan faces that haven't gone away, and sometimes a clear through line between policy solutions that have been put forward. And so then it always comes back to, where is the political will to get this done? You gather all these people together. In theory, they can get on the same page about a good idea to solve education in Michigan, to lure new residents to the state. Where is the will?
Yeah, Lauren, give you the last word. I got about 30 seconds, man.
Oh, wow. I think the benefit for us as reporters is just to be able to have these conversations a little more openly. When everybody's trapped on an island, you can't get off unless there's a ferry.
You can't take the horse over the water.
Exactly,
that's for sure.
Exactly. No, so it has been great to have those opportunities to talk with people and see where people are at. But yeah, for me, I think this is kind of the opening salvo for a very busy election year. And even though we didn't get the Senate debate, I think a lot of people wanted to see, we're hearing a lot of these themes, these issues that are going to keep coming up and up and up.
Yeah, Lauren Gibbons, Michigan State government reporter with Bridge, Michigan. Clara Hendrickson, politics reporter for the Detroit Free Press. And Russ McNamara, host of All Things Considered. Thank you all for joining us on WDET.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having us.